All right, so let's have a look at the code. So I have this text to rest project. It's part of the bigger NX project. I don't want you to worry about it for now. A lot of code, as I mentioned, it's been vibe coded. So let's not focus on the code quality per se, even though you can code pretty well vibe coding, actually. You just have to review it. I just did it very quick because I want to focus on the actual AI feature that you can use. But before that, I can show you we have API folder, which is folder for Nest API, Nest.js. Then we have the Angular app, and then we have a shared contract between the two. This is a small side topic, but generally think about it. This is the actual model, but it's not like a data model per se. I mean, it happens to be a data model for the simplicity, but generally think about like, so one common mistake I see what people do when they create a shared model, they want to actually put here like a data model that they're going to share between the API and app. So if you think about the layers, normally you have like the UI layer, application layer, and the data layer. So what people want to share is the data layer on both API and app. I think it's a mistake because it bites you very fast. So what I think should be in the shared folder are the contracts in between my services on the data layer, like responses I'm getting from the API, and the actual model that represents an response from the API endpoint. So this is this glue in between. It's a it's a small tip for you, but yeah, that's how you should do it. So you can see what is the actual model for the filters. So you have ID, which is not so relevant at this moment. Then you have a title, description, image, class type, duration. You can pause the video and pay attention to each one of them. It's pretty straightforward. And I made it flat for the simplicity. Quite often you would have like it's a design decision you can make. I made it make it to be flat because it's just simpler this way. All right, and it's easier to represent that in query parameters, right? Because if I have things that are nesting, yeah, things get nasty. So think about it like the contract between the API and app, which is like the response I getting from the backend endpoint. All right, so let's have a look at API first. So this is pretty straightforward. We have only one module, which is the app. We have the controller, which has the query parameters, which is the partial of the fitness class. If of this model I just showed you, coming from here. So if I don't provide anything, and we look into get data, it's going to be like no filters, which means all of it will go. And then when you have a look at it, so we have the stub. I've created some stub data inside my repo. I don't want to be connecting to databases, do all this kind of heavy lifting. You guys know how to do it. So I want to be prototyping and iterating fast. Then when we have a look at the data, you can see I go for each one of the class. I filter it, then I check the properties, and then I map them. So if the property in this case is tags, but it's an array, then set up some strategy how to deal with arrays. And then if it's like Boolean value or anything like that, not string, then convert that to that value that is actually represented in the data model. So sorry, if it's like a string, but it could be on a data model, it's like a number or Boolean, then coerce that into those primitive types, right? So pretty much basic stuff. I don't think we're gonna be touching this service anytime soon because, as I said, backend is very busy and they don't want to be adding any complexity here. Okay, so this is an API. Then let's have a look at the app. App is also super simple. We have only one module with no routing, only one page. And then we have, this is the most important part where we have, actually here I can see, I will change that. Private read-only HTTP client. I don't like the constructed parameters. It's going to cause a lot of problems. Okay. So here we have HTTP client, and then we expect to get like the fitness classes response, and then we can provide a partial of the fitness class and put it as a query parameters, exactly what you just saw. And then we fetch it using signals in component. Maybe this is no longer needed, I guess. And then we have the bunch of HTML that uses the Tailwind to output the stuff as you just saw. So this is the result. The endpoint is being called without any filters now. So let's have a look how this could be implemented.